Okay, we'll move on to C3. So I'd like to welcome Brett Haywood, who's our Australian Panel Convener for Power System Environmental Performance.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brad Haywood. I've taken over from James Hart, who was the previous C3 Environmental Panel Convener, and I work for Essential Energy, Environmental Services Manager there, so I deal with all sorts of things. I've also got a bit of an interest in an oil and gas company in Queensland, and also have EIA software that I sell to public authorities. So to give you a bit of an overview of the C3 purpose, it's basically all things environmental related to power network systems and the impacts that the network can have on the environment. So for the purposes of this presentation today, I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about the working group, the bird icon. I'm going to talk about the bird story, and the last one will be Endeavour Energy's experience with sustainability-linked loans. So if I go into the working group, so I attended Paris. You've seen lots of internal shots of Paris today with the conference. I've decided to go a bit external with getting out and about. Now, I only did that on the Sunday, but nonetheless, I was there and I did enjoy it. Obviously, there was a large range of papers related to C3, and I've just specifically mentioned the bottom one there about the proposal for solar farms on degraded mining ash, and it sort of goes a little bit to what Alex was saying before about when thinking about how the frame SIGRE and its relationship with different things, whether it should be advocating for public policy and stuff like that, or should it just be a technical forum. With the experience there, that related to Bosnia-Herzegovina, where they were having all sorts of issues with multi-jurisdictional levels of government in trying to approve the use of solar farms on degraded mine sites. And I just thought it'd be a good opportunity, maybe as a future subject, is to look at best practices of different multi-level jurisdictions to see how different states or jurisdictions and countries dealt with that matter. As far as working group activity for C3 is concerned, there's a list there. I'm involved with the C3 16A, which I don't, I've got that wrong. I'm in C3098, so the Sustainability Corridor Management. Now, our activities with the Australian C3 panel, we've had Zoom meetings, and then just recently on the 14th of October, we had a meeting down in Tasmania. So what we did is we went and had a look at some of the challenges of electricity supply, in particularly difficult areas. So that's on top of Mount Wellington. It sort of sits up above Hobart there, and there's an 11 kV power supply that goes basically up the side of the Mount Wellington to supply the communication facilities on top of the mountain. And there's obviously a lot of constraints with snow, ice, faults, trying to find that power line, search for different things in that sort of, during emergency conditions. I just want to share a bit of a project that I've been working on, and it wasn't a formal collaboration with B2 members, but there was a couple of B2 members that contributed to the development of this this paper that I ended up writing related to a project. So Alex Batch and Gary Brennan were involved with the customer side. So this is a majority customer funded project. Essential Energy does have a financial interest in it. And what it does, it relates to the South Yarra-Bombera high voltage upgrade. So it involves a dual circuit 132 power line from the ACT into New South Wales. And that little orange bit up the top there is about 230 metres into the ACT, but because we go into the ACT, we basically trigger their highest development application. So it's an EIS and a fairly rigorous assessment process. in developing the EIS, we have to consider the increase of predation efficiency. So there's, I guess, a bit of government inference that power lines can create opportunities from which birds can predate on, in particular on threatened species. And that little fella there is a grassland earless dragon, and those green areas and the purple areas there are either public or private conservation lands dedicated to the protection of that little fella there. So when we think about power lines, I know we're talking to engineers here who know all about this, but as you can see, the ones on the left, on either side of the middle one, have large cross arms. So with large cross arms, that's where birds can predate from, build nests from, roost. Whereas the middle one, excluding the 11 kV underbuilt, that's a 132 dual circuit power line. It doesn't sort of offer the structures in which to perch, and that's what the type of power line that we're proposing. So I've got a feeling that the issue that was coming from the government related to the recovery plans for the grassland earless dragon, which is listed as might be threatened or critical in the ACT, but also at the Commonwealth level and New South Wales. But with the ACT and Commonwealth, we'll just speak about those for a moment, that both plans refer to artificial perches, mainly being posts and fences, as being, I guess, opportunity for magpies, ravens and raptors in which to pluck off the dragon. And the theory, I think it's potentially drawn from international experience, which has shown that distribution or lower level power lines can provide an opportunity for birds to predate from, but it's normally when they're targeting mammals or something that's quite high. If you think about that picture before and the little lizard there, as a full-grown adult, they're only about 7 centimetres long, so juveniles are 2 to 3 centimetres. So if you're a bird sitting on a 21 metre high power line, I think you'd have a tough time trying to find that. And that's essentially what the literature has indicated. So when I commenced writing this paper, I thought it'd be about, 4,000 or 5,000 words. It ended up being about 13,500 words. So it was quite a reasonable sized paper. And if you think about the three birds there, the two, like the raven, the magpie, they've got very similar characteristics in that, and that they need to predate from sort of lower levels on trees because they need to listen and see the prey. So when I've been out there on site, even though a tree might have been 15 metres high, the birds were sitting at 4 metres or even on the ground plucking off the prey. Now, if you think about a raptor who can predate from very high up, you need to take into consideration the energy efficiencies that occur with soaring versus paused perch travel. So a bird sitting on a perch, in order for it to launch from zero velocity, is a lot more energy demanding than if it stayed in the air and soared. So, and also with paused travel, its ability to see a diverse range of area is quite limited. So it's much more energy efficient for a bird to soar than what it is to stop. So all those things combined is in the findings is that, the artificial structures have been identified, but they're limited by height. There's actually a diminishing return the higher up you go for certain species, particularly in low density environments where the prey is small and the environment is sparse. For raptors, they probably prefer to soar over paused travel, and the conclusion is it's not likely to lead to an increase in bird predation or abundance. Haven't tested this yet, haven't submitted the EIS, but I'm giving you a sneak preview into what I believe is the case there. So lastly, I just want to talk about Endeavour Energy's experience with sustainability-linked loans. So a sustainability-linked loan is just a debt instrument. You just go to market as you would to find any other debt product. The only thing is that you, as an organisation, you can set predetermined sustainability performance goals with that. And the purpose of that is those performance goals don't have to be linked to the money that you're getting from the debt market, but it's some of the people who provide the equity have sustainability products in which they'll give you a lower interest rate if you link it towards sustainability goals. But they can't be just business as usual type goals, they've got to be stretched. So Endeavour have 4. So their first sustainability performance target is related to greenhouse gas emission reduction, and that's related to things that aren't electricity line losses, which are the majority of emissions. So they've got a 27% reduction focused on building energy efficiency fleet, an SF6. The second one is landfill waste diversion, so looking to reduce waste in landfill by 41% by financial year 27. Net habitat gain, so basically if you take a tree, plant 4, working with local councils about opportunities to offset those. And lastly, their mental health and wellbeing, so a target of 95% of their employees participating in mental health training sessions by FY27. That's it from me, and thank you for listening.